I'm going to go through some things that I want to talk about on the program and what we've learned as an update, and then open it up to questions from you guys. So I'll try to be quick with what I got to say so that you all have plenty of time to ask questions. The first thing I want to mention, and it says it there if you don't see it, we are recording this so that folks that might want to listen later, they can listen, but beware what you say. It's going to be recorded. And the other thing I want to say before I start is there's going to be certain times as I say certain things, I'm going to, I don't have a written disclaimer, but I'm going to say disclaimer because this is what nothing's finite on it. It's what I'm hearing, what I'm understanding. So I don't want to say something and then somebody say, hey, John Hemmings said this, it's the gospel. Sometimes things aren't the gospel. So I just don't want you guys to anticipate that I have all of the answers on things. So nonetheless, first thing I want to say is the procured planners have been secured under contract by the Ohio Department of Development. I encourage you, if you have not already, go and put your project in and ask for a procured planner. At the first of this, our region was like, we had like 4 or 5 times what the other regions were asking for. And so I appreciate you guys following up. I know Ken's been messaging that to you guys to get your procured planner. And I think everybody's done that. If you haven't though, I want to reiterate, go online and ask for a procured planner for your project. There were 22 technical assistance applications funded. I'm not going to read all of those, but they're the ones that were funded that impact the OVRDC region are the OVRDC. We got a grant for $1,587,000 and $587,775. So $1,587,775. The Claremont Port Authority received a technical assistance grant in the amount of $981,975. Now, both of those projects were to serve our 11 counties, and the concept of that was $250,000 for each county. If you add that up, it doesn't quite add up, and I'll explain that here in a minute. The Mayor's Partnership for Progress, and let me see. I'll just pull this up.
They received $474,000.
Yes. Let me share my screen.
I've got it, John.
Oh, you're going to put that. Okay, yeah. You got it up there. Sorry. I'm spending too much time looking. That's all of them. And then the Mayor's Partnership, that $474,450, that's the fourth one down you see. If I did my math right, $180,250 of that impacts OVRDC communities. It'd be cities or villages in our region. And there's a breakdown. Carrie, if you can scroll down on that page, and we can get this to everybody. Can you scroll down on that? There we go. All right, it's slow popping up. This on the second and third and fourth page, it breaks it down by county, and for your county, where the separation of the money is. So let's, even though it's not our county, what I see there is under, well, let's look at Gallia. They're there. Mayor's Partnership for Progress, $18,025. is for Gallia County under their TA grant, and then the rest of the 250 is under our grant, 231,975. We'll get this out to everybody so you know where your county's 250 is broken up into. The reason on that Gallia County and for the breakdown on the mayor's partnership is the city of Gallipolis also put in as partner with the mayor's partnership for progress. So that's how that came about. That some counties, their allocation is split up among two different TA grants. You see there, Lawrence County, all 250 is part of our application. So, and I've got to figure that out with, the mayor's partnership and GLA, how we go forth with that, with any technical assistance. All right, so the total of all the technical assistance was over $7.5 million. And we have not been provided our technical assistance grant yet. I am assuming that Claremont County Port Authority has not received theirs yet, nor the mayor's partnership, but I know we have not. And I did talk to Julia Hinton at the Governor's Office of Appalachia, and she's indicated to me she's hoping we will have it by the end of next week. Now, this is the part where I'm going to say disclaimer. The technical assistance grants, I've been told, will be backdated to March 20th of 2023, which is the day the controlling board approved them. So expenses back to that date would be eligible. My only problem with that is I have not received the actual grant agreement to see that that is what date is on there. So don't get ahead of me and think, well, we've got this expense, we'll turn it in for reimbursement. The subrecipient agreements, though, when we put those out from OVRDC here to the different groups in each county, this is speaking for OVRDC. I don't know how Claremont Port Authority is doing theirs, but we will backdate that subrecipient agreement to the same date of our agreement. And this is something I've asked about this twice. And I asked the first time and then I reconfirmed it. And this has been a point of confusion. And I was told now twice, so I'm going to take it as being true, but I'm disclaimering this until I get my grant agreement. The technical assistance grants will have an end date, and listen to this carefully, October 31st of 2026, not 23, 26. That means we've got 3.5 years in each county to utilize that $250,000 under the TA grants. I think a lot of people were under the impression that we had to spend that money by the time development applications would be starting to be drummed up. And I think it had to do a lot with the misunderstanding, had a lot to do with the technical assistance versus planning, just the crossover of those two terms. So we know the prepared planners have to get project budgets ready by this October or thereabouts so we can start applying for the development grants. But these TA grants, what I'm understanding is when we see those, the end date on them is going to be October 31st, 26. But again, my disclaimer is I have not seen it. I've just been told this, and I'm hoping that is true. And that's good news, I think, for our counties because we can strategize on how to spend that money for planning maybe other projects that would be eligible for ACGP even after the development applications go in, for projects that might be smaller that we could fund with other resources. So there might be opportunities there, but that's up to you all how you want to go about that, and we can talk about that more later. I'd like for each county to identify a lead partner with us. I think that's kind of already been done, but I want to make sure you guys are on board with that who we do our subrecipient agreement with. It doesn't have to be the commissioner's office, and I'm not saying that we don't want it to be the commissioner's office. We're just saying if the county decides we want another entity to be that lead entity, we just need to be thinking about identifying that soon. If you could get me that, in fact, if someone there and maybe who the people we've identified in the counties as the lead person could get back with me by the end of next week. That way, if I've got our grant agreement, I can start on those subrecipient agreements with the proper organization at the county level that's going to be that entity we set as a subrecipient. There were 4 development grants that were funded in the first round that totaled $50 million. I just want to point out that all 4 were multi-county projects. If you look at those, they included 3 or 4 counties minimum, and those were the ones that got funded. We had one project from our region that I was told by in Columbus, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. That was one of the favorite projects that was submitted. It was not selected because it involved one community in one county. So think about that as you move forward for these second round development applications. They liked the project at the state. It did not involve multiple counties. It did not get funded. That ought to be a clue to everybody that you cannot go into this alone. We've been saying that, and we've been saying that, but I think that truth is there in respect to that one project. We have all 4 of the applications that were funded. Now we don't think we have all the attachments to those applications, but we're going to try to share those. I know Carrie and I were we found that we could put it up in the chat, but because some of you are from outside the office, the Teams program won't let us put it out there. There were PDFs, but Gina, maybe we can put them on our website and point people to those so that they can see those. I think that seeing those applications and just reviewing them will give you some insight of what a successful application looks like, what some of the key elements of that. So I think it wouldn't hurt if you look at those. And I want to thank Kennedy Briggs at Claremont County for getting us those. Their office reached out to the state and got those and shared them with us. So we will apprise you of those. I'm going to stop a moment and see if there's any questions before I talk about second round development grants. Looking over at the questions. I do not have a copy of what the Mayor's Partnership for Progress submitted. I can get that. I have a meeting this afternoon with them. On the second round development grants, unlike the first round, and we've said this before, but just in case there's people that's part of this that hadn't heard it before, they will not be required to be shovel ready in 90 days like the first round applications. So there's not going to be that requirement if you apply second round. So it does give you time to finalize engineering and design on a project before you move forward with the project. So don't let that be a hindrance to you. That document that Carrie shared a moment ago with the all the technical assistance applications and the breakdown by county, if you look in your chat, the PDF of that's there if you want to download it. All right, I'm going to disclaimer this too. If you look at what's been approved or encumbered, I should say, for the technical assistance grants, for the procured planners, and the first round development grants, there's about 435 million of the 500 million still left to be obtained. I figure this is going to come up at some point, so I went ahead and did the math on this. And this is, to me, this is just a point of reference for people, and I think we need to think about, well, what would be a total ask in the OVRDC region, and what would be what we would get that we would consider, I'll call it our fair share. If you look up at the 32 counties, the OVRDC region makes up 32% of the population of the entire region. So almost a third of the region is in OVRDC's 11 counties. I didn't include Fayette in that population total. 35% of the area, the square miles, is in the OVRDC region. So if you use those two numbers and say, well, therefore, we should get 32 to 35% of the remaining funds in round 2 for development, that puts us at receiving a minimum, when you look at all projects totaled, however they shape out, when we add up that the village of, the county of, the city of, in our region gets money, we should add a minimum, get 140 to 155,000, or million, sorry. I'm not used to dealing in millions. 140 to 155 million. So I say that just so people don't get in their minds that we shouldn't, oh, we're going to be asking for too much. And I use the word minimum there, not that that's where we ought to target. I didn't say that's where we ought to be. That's minimum. So I guess I'm just saying be assertive in what we ask for. I'm sure we're going to have more requests than we were going to be able to get funded. However, I don't think we should be tiptoeing around. We need to ask, and we need to get good projects together and ask for funding of those. And one thing I want to say too, I've been told, is that this program is not being looked at as a peanut butter program. And I never heard this before, but I've used the term before, but I never heard a peanut butter program, where you try to spread the money all the way out to the edges of the crust so that everybody gets a grant. They are not concerned about that. Now I am. I want to see as many communities in our region and counties get a grant, but the state is not. They're wanting to fund the best projects. So I think take that in light, that maybe the project you like the best in your county is not the best project for this funding. And we've got to get around and support projects that are going to be successful for the money to get us to in excess of 140 to 155 million. So I just say, be cooperative, be willing to support one another, and let's pick the best projects that come through this process over the next 6 months so we can get this funded. And because we're not going to get projects funded, every project that has an idea funded, I think we need to prioritize the projects based on, I've come up with 4 criteria. One is that and we've said this, the projects have to be ARPA and House Bill 177 eligible. Regarding the ARPA eligibility, the project narrative must include how the project is in response to or supports recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. How does the project respond to the negative economic impact of COVID-19? And how would the project assist if another pandemic happened? Those were exact words at the procured planner meeting on March 6th that Ken and I and any of the procured planners that are on this call participated in. Those were specific comments made by the speakers that day. So that's got to be in your narrative, how your project does those very things. Also, you need to prioritize projects that can be completed by October 31st, 2026. The procured planners should be most helpful in this part of it. They're engineers, they design things, they understand construction much better than I do, and they can and say there's no way that's ever going to happen by that date, and help you and assist you in picking good projects that we can make happen in that time frame. The project truly has local support is the third thing I would say to prioritize. I would say do not list a community as a partner or supporter of your project if you don't have them willing to write a support letter for your project. That's going to be a red flag on an application for you to say Village A is going to be part of this project and they know nothing about it. Make sure they know something about it and they're supportive of it. And the last thing I think we need to prioritize is the projects that can score high on the scoring rubric and have participants from multiple counties and include the multiple project facets: infrastructure, workforce, and healthcare. Now, this is the big new news, as I call it, and I heard this last Monday, talked to someone about it Thursday, brought it up Friday with the state, confirmed it then, and it was confirmed again this Monday. This was something I did not know or understand, and they told us the administration would like to fund 4 to 5 projects total out of the round 2 allocation, the $435 million. Those are big projects. I did not foresee, I thought OVRDC's region would maybe have, 6 different projects, 8, I don't know, just different groups kind of coming together. But this sounds to me like they want to fund very huge projects. That's going to be multifaceted, definitely multi-county, and could be multi-LDD. With that said, I have repeatedly said that OVRDC did not want to be a lead applicant on the development projects. And my peers at the other 3 local development districts have had the same feeling about that. I think Eastgate up at Youngstown was willing to do lead applicant on 1 project in their area, but the other ones of us were like, no, we don't want to be lead applicant. However, I think we're all feeling some pressure to step up and be a lead applicant if they're wanting to fund 4 to 5 projects in the entire 30. When I say 3 or 4 or 4 to 5, I mean they want that in the entire 32 counties, not OVRDC. That's not 4 or 5 in OVRDC. That's in the entire Appalachian Ohio region. I'd like for you all to ponder that idea and let me know if you have any objection to us being a lead applicant for a regional project. I'm going to take this to our executive committee on April 27th to see how they feel about it. Some of them might be on here. Your input ahead of that meeting would be very meaningful to me if that's something you all are comfortable with. I will say that our technical assistance project that was submitted December 9th, I said this before, if you go back and look what we were thinking in October 22, what got submitted December 9th was completely different than what we were talking about in October. And for that same reason, I think any development grant that is developed from this region is likely to take on that same personality and change and morph over the next few months. Feet locked in, and stand your ground. This thing, we're got to be flexible as we move along. development applications are going to be due either near the end of December or early January of next year. The application portal will open up in October or November, so we'll have about 2 to 3 months there to get the applications in. So even though it opens in October, that's not when you have to be ready to apply. We'll have till end of December, early January. Just recently I heard there's a rumor that John Kerry, Governor's Office of Appalachian Director, had said that these grants will be funded on a first come, first served basis, and you need to get your application in this summer. That is false. So if you hear that rumor, there's no truth to it. Everybody will apply at the same time. It's not a first come, first served. So if you hear that, tell somebody they don't know what they're talking about.
Hey, John,
Yes.
it's Michelle. I put the question in the chat, but when you were meeting with them and they said 4 to 5 applications, did the LDDs express that they did not want to be the applicant?
No, I think well, sort of. Some of the others talked about the optics of it, and they're concerned about the optics of it. And I'll be honest, I think I was just shocked, didn't know what to say, because my mind starts processing like does this mean? And it's something I hadn't even, so when one of my peers said something about the optics of it, I hadn't even thought about that because I never gave it consideration that we would be a lead applicant. So my mind's just started, working without asking questions like, what's it? I mean, I was asking questions, but of myself, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well,
And
John,
one thing I want to say, this is last thing, then I'll, because I asked this as well, and this will be, I think, feel a comfort level for all the communities as well as the procured planners. I said, if our communities and organizations are part of a mega sized project, and I was told you will retain your procured planner if you wish to throughout the project if it's funded. So there will be multiple procured planners as part of any mega project submission. So if there's I'll call it mega project submitted from OVRDC, it's not like we're going to have one procured planner working on all those projects. You're going to retain the procured planner you have. And again, as long as you're happy with that procured planner through the process. So that project application would have multiple communities, multiple procured planners of your choice as part of that project. I think the way it would be is it'd just be one big application, but then there would be somebody would be a lead applicant. Then there would be each community would have to bid out their own project, and the procured planner that they've selected would help them with that. So it won't change any of that. And I did confirm that that's not going to change any setup for anybody. So that's what I had, folks. Certainly willing to answer some questions if you have them.
John, I did have a question for you. If the OVRDC ends up running this show, essentially you're going to be the officiant of the arranged marriages. Is that the way to put it?
When you say officiant, are we going to pick the projects? No.
No, I mean,
okay.
The question that I had was, up to this point, the bottom-up strategy was what the state was emphasizing. Each individual community has to sign on to the projects to show that level of local support. But at some point, when you have to coalesce all of these projects into $100 million application, somebody is going to have to look for redundancies and all of those other things. So if we can still stay under the umbrella of the planner that we have selected and we're working with, we should be fine.
Yeah, and I don't think, I'll put it this way, We are not, I don't think OVRDC wants to be in a position, I won't do it, is to pick, choose winners and losers locally. I think it needs to continue to be all the way through locally driven. So I think each county is going to have to look, and again, going back to those priority things I talked about, what are the strongest projects that that county can submit? And that's where I think the focus is going to have to be, is looking at you all selecting those projects. All we would do is basically, if we're their lead applicant, I'm not saying we're going to be, you guys may be completely appalled by that idea and that my board may say no. But if we were, all we're doing is submitting the application on behalf of a region or whatever that looks like, and submitting it up to Columbus and getting the money and sub-allocating it out to everybody else. But yeah, to me, OVRDC is not going to come in and pick and choose the winners and losers. We would just facilitate. Our role, if we're lead applicant, would be to facilitate making sure that our region has a multiple county application with multifacets of projects that has a high probability of success of getting funded. I think that would be what I feel our role would be. But that you all have to, at the local level, have to decide what projects make the most sense.
Hey, John.
Yes.
It's Jessica Keaton. For anybody, because I'm on my phone, my microphone's not working on my laptop, unfortunately. But I just wanted to share ILCAO's strategy so far. We're doing a lot of the things already that you're recommending. We were actually already assigned 2 planners for our project. But our project is very large, and we are incorporating all of our municipalities. We're also forging partnerships with other counties and communities in other counties. And we had our kickoff meeting yesterday with our 2 assigned consultants present. And we invited in our partners, and it was really helpful to have that meeting with our assigned procured planners, because they talked to us at length about, forming partnerships and being able to knit those resources together. So when you become a big project and you include everyone, they're talking to each other and they're working very closely with each other. So when you bring partners on board, you're just strengthening that collaborative piece, and they're working across municipal and county lines with each other.
That's good to know, Jess, that you're getting that cooperation and collaboration.
John, I have another question for you. If we end up working with another entity, say there's a village in our area that has not requested a planner and has not participated in the process up to this point because they didn't want to follow through with it, or for some reason they're not involved up to that point. Is there a way to get them in the tent as this process moves forward, or is there going to be some sort of drop dead date where no one else can participate?
I don't think they set a date. Ken, you might answer this, but I do know there will be a time where they stop the procured planner request. I don't think they've set that date, but you're not going to be able to, I would venture to guess you're going to be asking for a procured planner past some date. And I don't want to stick a date out there. I don't want to give you that date. So yeah, they could miss out on that opportunity to be part of anything. I will say this in relation to that: if they're not motivated to get involved, they're probably not going to be a strong link in a project regionally, because there's enough people it's kind of like here, I always say, we serve 12 counties, and that's a lot of political subdivisions, organizations that we serve. So we don't serve them all. We serve the ones that contact us and work with us. So the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So I guess what I'm saying is, I think this program's no different. There's way more interest in this, that if a community doesn't want to ask for a planner for some reason, they're probably going to get left behind. That's just my thinking. I don't know.
Not to butt in again, but we actually brought in another organization into the fold that wasn't originally in our scope when we even submitted for procure planner, and we were able to just absorb them into our project and share our planner with them as well, even though they hadn't requested themselves. So that's possible because we're doing that.
John, Kevin Dennis here. I had a question. So as the Field of Hope, we've kind of taken the lead with a little group of folks, and we've tried to reach out to other counties as well to pull them into our group that we were going to apply with. And I guess what my question is, if the OVRDC takes over as the lead applicant, does that multi-county coalition work anymore? Or should we stick with our own county and let the other counties be part of the OVRDC effort?
I don't think it hurts to stick with that multi-county smaller group. That strengthens the project and showing that project in and of itself is multi-county, that it's multifaceted. So I don't think that hurts. And again, Kevin, I throw that out there that I said, we're feeling some pressure that we might have to be a lead applicant. That doesn't mean we're going to be. I mean, I'm just saying, before it was absolutely not even a consideration, but I'm saying that if we've got 11 counties and we're supposed to put together 4 or 5 big projects. Now, realize those 4 or 5 projects could be that, let's say 3 counties in OVRDC get together and they request 200 million, just those 3 counties. It could be that. I mean, so I'm saying that if we were the lead applicant, we would certainly take consideration for all the counties. Like I said, the state said they don't want it to be a peanut butter program. I would like to see as much as possible that but again, with good projects, I don't think we have any obligation to throw money at projects that don't meet or that are weak within the list of projects we have. I think we need to fund the best projects and submit those to the state. Does that mean that potentially we only have projects in 9 counties of those 11? It could be. If some of the counties, the groups there can't get things wrapped around, and figure things out. And I'm not saying that's the way it is. I'm just saying that's the way it could be.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I'm just saying, if that's what the region wants, because you're not going to get, and we can go with the same premise we've got now, where we were thinking, we'd have, like I said earlier, 6 to 8 projects, maybe 10 from our region alone. But what may happen if we continue down that road is the state may, if you guys want to go that route, what I was thinking about is they may say, well, we like these 3 here, but we're going to make them combine under one application after you submit, because they want to fund 3 or 4 to 5. And that's just a guess on my part. Like I said, I'm not making the decisions. I'm just trying, I'm like you all, I'm trying to figure it out. And my main concern is us getting a significant share of this funding in our region.
Yeah, but them narrowing it down to that number of projects, I don't see any other way than, the OVRDC leading this effort. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that was a signal to say, hey, you all are going to lead this because we're narrowing it down to less than a half dozen projects. But that's just me. I'm just trying to read between the lines.
Same for me, Kevin. That's why I think all the districts we've been talking, and we have a meeting at 1 o'clock today with the Mayor's Partnership for Progress, and I'm sure that little tidbit's gonna be the focus of our meeting. And we're all, and it's like we said, if the other three say we're going to be lead applicant, I'm going to be shamed into being a lead applicant down here too. I mean, there's all kinds of pressures there. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to tell you that this is the way it's going to happen. I don't want anybody to walk away from this. That's why I said disclaimer. That was a disclaimer message about me, OVRDC being a lead applicant. I think the possibility of it has increased, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen.
John, Danielle has a question.
Hi, everyone.
Oh.
Hi, this is Danielle Steinhauser. I'm with CT Consultants. I like where the discussion is going. One of the things, and maybe this was a clarifying moment for me, so I guess I'm just sharing it out there. When you go into GOA's site and you look at the procured planners and you scroll to the bottom of that screen and it says, find your planner, right? The first question you're asked is, are you a lead applicant or not? And one of the big epiphanies that I had was that lead applicant is being used two different ways. There's a lead applicant for planning the project, and there's a lead applicant for that development project at the end. And, to circle back to one of your original comments, John, you were saying, hey, everybody needs to submit their idea. On that level, everyone is a lead applicant for the planning piece. You can go in there and say, hey, I'm a lead applicant. That does not mean that you are the lead applicant for the ultimate development project that goes in October. So that, I don't know if that helps anyone else, but once that fit together for me, some of the rest of this started to make sense, so that when you're assigned a planner, I mean, the procured planners, we're coordinating with each other right now. You folks on the ground are coordinating with one another. Both groups are coordinating with OVRDC and the other development districts. And so it will eventually bubble out. I really think that the larger projects will start to bubble up. I agree that, some of them will probably be combined to be stronger. But if we don't have those ideas on the table to begin with, we can't sort through them and figure out how to put them together to meet the highest scoring possibility on that 150-point scoring rubric. I don't know if that helps anyone.
Well said. And I'll go back to my comment. It's April 14th. It's Pete Rose's birthday, by the way. But anyhow, I only know that because it's my sister's birthday too, and her birthday is Pete Rose's birthday. Anyhow, what you may have in your mind today, what I have in my mind today, by the end of December, 1st of January, I'm glad we're recording this. I may play this back, and I'll bet you what we turn out, whether that's one big mega project or 6 or 7 smaller ones, whatever it turns out to be, I think that project is going to be different than what we might all be thinking about today. It'll work. We just have to be flexible and figure out what's best for this region and the counties. So. All right. And Todd, did that answer your question? The link that Gina put up for you?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I knew the list. My question is more, I don't know necessarily what the planners are working on in Ross County or, the other counties that are neighboring and how do we get our projects to combine. So that's the only reason I was asking the question about maybe who has been awarded and what projects they're working on, because that's where, the regional impact comes into play. But if you're taking the lead on this, which I think is a great idea, I think that kind of, I think it kind of figures out that situation.
Well, and understand too, even regardless of what we do, Ken Reed is on contract with us through March, end of March next year, as of now, and he may be on longer than that as we get into the development stages. I can't guarantee him that yet, but he's here during this entire process. And Ken has been actively working. When the state identifies who the procured planners are for each community, that's being shared with Ken and I. And he's following up with all the planners and making sure, they know him. And that's going to be Ken's role, is to try to help those planners make those marriages between projects.
Thank you.
I guess, Todd, what I'm saying, get hold of Ken. Ken will help you navigate that.
Yes,
Sounds-
and towards that end, John, we talked about convening a meeting of all the planning firms at OBRDC here in a couple months, after the planning firms have had a chance to get out, meet in all the communities, get the details, have a good understanding of the individual projects and individual communities, then maybe convene a meeting there at OBRDC where we all sit around the table and do a lot of sharing. But I am available. I'm meeting with 2 planning firms with 2 projects yet today. So when you're meeting with your planning firm, if you want to send me an invitation to sit on the meeting, I'm, more than glad to do that. But it is going to take a lot of coordination. This idea of a mega application just came out of left field. And so we'll be trying to put that together. But in the interim, everybody can keep working on your project, get your project fleshed out, work out sustainability, viability, the design, certain preliminary cost estimating, really get your project nailed down. And that'll really help later when we have to start putting individual projects in together into one large application.
And Terry, to answer your question, Terry asked about crossing LDD boundaries. That is not a sin at all. I said that not years ago, months ago. One thing that I heard yesterday, and I'll disclaim this one, about some talk about a multi-LDD river corridor project.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, maybe I shouldn't talk, I don't know what it would be, but I'm thinking that if that happened, it would be communities along the river. In our region, Buckeye Hills and Omega, not Eastgate, they're not none of their counties border the Ohio River. So if that would take place, we got to figure out a lead applicant between Columbiana County and Claremont County.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying we're going to do that. I'm not saying any LDD would do that. We just have to figure it out if that application happens. So there's an example of a potential project I've heard that goes across LDD boundaries. So do not feel like you have to stay. If there's opportunity, particularly with the border counties that border Buckeye Hills, I think if you can be a critical part of a project there. I don't think you want to put the same projects in an OVRDC or a project that's from this area into one in Buckeye Hills region. Don't put the same project there. What you want to do is make sure it's 2 separate projects. One's in one application, one's in the other.
Understood. Thank you.
And Ken's right. We were talking about getting the planners together, just so we can keep that communication going with them and try to get an idea of what's going on in the region, what projects are really coming out and looking good. The other thing I think we would like to do is keep this call going with you all. And my only question would be, how often do you feel like we need to have it? I don't want to overdo it, but I don't want to. We've probably been, I was waiting to get my technical assistance grant to have this call. And I finally decided I can't wait anymore. So I decided, when I heard the 4 to 5 projects, I thought we have to get a call going. So would every other week on Friday this time work for everybody? Does that work?
I think so.
Let's plan it that way. What I'm going to do is have Gina put together, because me and Ken have been sending like people stuff separate, and I know you sent some other people this. We're gonna put everybody on one list, and Gina will send out an invite for this for the 2 Fridays from now, and we'll play it by ear. If we feel like that's too often, we'll break it down to once a month, whatever. We'll figure out some system. But for right now, let's try to get back here in 2 weeks. Hopefully, we have the technical assistance grant in hand. Hopefully, Claremont has theirs, Mayor's Partnership as well, and we can try to figure out what's the next steps.
Hey, John, I was just curious, when did you talk to Julia about that technical assistance grant coming out next Friday? Because I know everybody in our office received a call from Kyle from GOA, and he said that we should be expecting it by today, this Friday. So I'm just wondering how certain they are if they're going to be getting this technical assistance grant out by next Friday.
From what I understand, the person in legal that is reviewing all of it to finalize it had something come up with family, and because of that, the delay till next week, because the plan was this week. Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know when you talked to Kyle, but Julia, I think I spoke with her Monday or Tuesday of this week, I want to say.
Okay.
Well, folks, I've taken up an hour of your time. If there's nothing else, we'll shoot out another blast on this for not next Friday, but the 28th at 10 a.m. and bring any updates we have at that time. And I appreciate your listening and participation today. We'll get through this. And again, like I said, my main goal is I want to maximize the grant awards to this region of the state. That's my main objective. Whatever path we take to get there, that's what I want to see us do. So thank you all. I hope you all have a good weekend.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it, John.
John.
Okay. Take care.
Thanks.